everyone, IvyLeeGaming here, and today we're playing Genshin Impact. For today's video, I'm going to react to a little bit of lore here from Island XD. Let's dive into Venti and the God of Time. So first off, credit where credit is due right away here. We are on Island XD's channel. They have amazing content and probably the best stuff I've reacted to so far, like this What You Need to Know About Honkai Impact Before Playing Star Rail was a video I've already done a reaction to, and it was suggested that I head back to their channel for some Genshin Impact related content. So that's what we're gonna do today. So the quick TLDR, if this is your first time finding my channel, is that I am a long-time gacha game player. I started with Raid Shadow Legends and kind of transitioned through a whole bunch of games and really found an interest in Genshin Impact, but played Honkai Star Rail first. I actually just properly started playing Genshin Impact though for real now, so you can check out my recent videos like my day one reaction where I talk about my experience and show some really fun clips. I've also been planning to post a whole bunch of videos related to the fun I have, the laughs we have on stream, or just maybe reacting to some lore that comes along the way. And part of that is I want to make sure I am doing my best to understand the story as it starts to unfold. So I really like the idea of diving into these a little bit like theory videos and just general overviews of making sure we understand what's going on, or maybe we're just theory crafting a little bit to some extent about what could be or what could be a true meaning behind something. And I haven't watched this video. I also plan to react to the episode 2 to this Genshin Impact theory video from Island XD. It was a bit ago. This one was 2 years ago, February of 2021. So this is obviously a bit dated, but that's the whole point. I'm sure I'm not the only one starting to play Genshin. It's always getting new players. And if you're like me, you might have played Honkai Star Rail first, and now we're heading on over to Genshin because personally, I've always known that Genshin was more my vibe, and I'm loving it already. But alright, that's enough blabbering. Let's get into this reaction here.
In this video, we will discuss the importance of God of Time and Wind to theorize the meaning of Genshin Impact as a whole. Also why Saritsa, Abyss Order, and Kenria are so obsessed with Barbados and Mondstadt. It starts right now.
Ooh.
The very first thing that we think of when discussing the God of Time is his identity. However, tackling the identity of God of Time is a difficult thing to do. Frankly, there's not enough information, and whenever the God of Time is mentioned in the game, things get very confusing because of its cryptic nature. But to get some answers to theorize the overall story of Genshin Impact, I asked myself a different question. Why is the God of Time so important? To answer this question, let's dissect some hints related to the God of Time. The sundials from the quest Time and Wind states, seeds of stories brought by the wind and cultivated by time.
I really love this because I feel like when we're going along and just trying to progress, or if I'm doing so well I'm live on Twitch, there's so much I can miss, or there's so much that's not going to sink in the first time I hear it. So I really want to try to continue watching this type of thing to make sure it really drills into my head so that I have a good understanding of the lore and yeah, and appreciate all the work that they really put into a game like this, right? Isn't it amazing? It's amazing how intricate it is and how passionate the community is, and I'm loving it. So seeds of stories brought by the wind and cultivated by time. All right, let's just continue here and let him break this down.
Stories brought on the wind will bloom into legends in due time. The traveling scholar Sayed is also found reciting a poem. Seeds brought on by the wind will sprout in due time. Even the eye of the storm speaks, an ancient tale comes whisked in the wind. In time, it will grow and sprout once again. From these three information, we can notice a very important concept. Time and wind cannot exist without the other. Without time, the stories, legends, and tales have no place to exist. And without stories, legends, and tales, time itself serves no purpose. In a symbolic sense, wind and time is one, even if physically they could be two different beings. This world and its history exists because of the god of time and wind. Now, as I mentioned, the god of time is currently unidentified within the story, but
I wonder, has this changed, guys? Don't give me any spoilers. I guess too much now. But sorry for the pause. Sorry, not sorry for the pause in the butt. But as of 2 years ago, that's early on in the story, of course, there was no specification about the god of time, just the god of wind, Venti here, Barbados.
we do know that the god of
But-
wind is undoubtedly our carefree
Okay, he was
bard
being
from
punny.
Mondstadt, Venti. During Venti's character demo, MiHoYo gives us a brief description on Venti's identity. Full of mystery, born from the branches of time, a history of glory and sorrow, and witness to the divine. From this description, I would argue that Venti was born from the foundation of time itself, wisp of wind that existed before the formation of the 7 archons as we know today. Interestingly, this description also suggests that Venti witnessed many rise and fall of the world, its glory and sorrow. Now, if time and wind is the history of the world, what signifies its rise and fall, the beginning and the end?
Ooh.
Just like how time and wind is related, the moon is also another variable that
Like Celestia?
coexists with time and history. Moon symbolizes the renewal of time or the cycle of time itself. Now, to backtrack a bit, earlier we mentioned the sundial. The sundial from the quest Time and Wind, which hints towards the relationship between God of Time and Wind. However, I'm under the impression that these sundials, although mentioned in the game as a sundial, are in fact moon dials.
Oh.
Just like the sundials, moon dials were used to track time and history. Now, during the quest, we're directed to take certain actions between 2 to 5 in the morning, the exact time frame where the moon is casting a shadow over the needle. Not only that, the moon is also hinted several times within the game itself, relating to time or wind. Resins, which we all despise, are shaped as a moon, which accumulates over time continuously. The name Mondstadt, the region of the Anemo Archon, even means the moon city. Now, if you're still not convinced, inside the book Heart's Desire, it further hints the moon's association with Barbados and the god of time. The book tells a story of 3 moon sisters named Aria, Sonnet, and Canon, which are all related to poetry, stories, and ballads. Now, with that in mind, the story within the sacrificial weapons state, on the cliff facing the eastern sea, the ancestors worshipped the masters of time and Anemo together. The people of Mondstadt had a tradition of building theaters on top of windy cliffs to please the gods. Rituals took the form of performances, for they believed that gods enjoyed stories and ballads. Now, obviously, this cliff facing the eastern sea is undoubtedly the Thousand Winds Temple on the eastern coast of Mondstadt, the same location where the sundial, or the moon dial as I call it, is located. I'm sure you get the point. So what does the relationship between time, wind, and the moon signify in Genshin Impact? The history of the world is constantly repeated due to the existence of time, wind, and the moon. Without the gods of time and wind and the moon, the cyclical nature of life in Genshin Impact is fractured and ceases to exist. Now, if you've been paying attention to the story, I'm sure you've noticed by now, the Fatui, Abyss Order, and Kenria all seems to be connected to our carefree bard and Mondstadt in some way. According to Jean, the Cryo God has always coveted the Anemo God's power, particularly after the Cataclysm when Sarissa's ideals changed. In the case of the Abyss Order, during the Cataclysm, they specifically targeted Dragonspine, a region within Mondstadt. And even today, they are constantly found trying to weaken Mondstadt, lurking around the Four Winds Temple, and even corrupting the Valen. For Kemria, they sent Kaya specifically to Mondstadt as their last hope after the events of the Cataclysm. Why Mondstadt? Why not Liyue or Inazuma? So the question is, why? Why are they so obsessed with Barbatos and Mondstadt? Inside the world of Genshin Impact, no matter what happens throughout time, the wind continues to push time forward as the moon signifies the start and the end of a cycle.
All the science. Of course, the moon, it does affect those wind currents, right? This is really interesting. It's really deep. It's something I would never think to dive as deep into, more so just the character stories themselves and less about, like, I guess this feels very like origin story, right? But that makes sense. Mondstadt's the first location. So if it has to do with maybe the creation of this world, the start of this world, or how this world works, period, it makes sense that that would be a good foundation with Mondstadt, the wind, and the connection to the moon. I like it. We're getting deep here, guys. I like it.
A cyclical life that continues for an eternity for humanity, even if there is a cataclysm. Now, who do I think the God of Time actually is? Is it the Sustainer, Paimon, Barbatos himself? Or is it someone else unknown to us at the current moment? With the lack of conclusive evidence, it's really difficult to make a determination. But if I were to take a shot in the dark, forgetting about the lore and just going with my guts, my random guess would have to be Paimon. Who do you think the God of Time could be? Make sure you comment down below if you have any guesses. Now, unfortunately for Barbatos, he's become the target to the Fatui, Abyss Order, and Kenria.
This is 2 years ago, guys, so you'll have to tell me in the comments
this world.
if this
Maybe
has
that's
ever
why
been
Barbatos has been always
revealed.
hiding. But is this really Barbatos' fault? The fact is, he has to continue to push time forward because of his nature of existence. The story within Genshin Impact is beginning to shift, the Cataclysm as the seed. So instead of trying to figure out who is in the right or wrong, I believe it's imperative for us to understand what the exact cause of the Cataclysm was. Is it as simple as the Abyss Order just being pissed off at the gods and humans? Or is there a deeper meaning behind it all?
Next time. I love it. Next time on. All right, boom, let's click that. All right, that's going to be next. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. It might be really fun for the experienced Genshin players to have already played through these 2 years since this video was made. What does anything that he's kind of putting together come to light? Is he wrong? Is he right? Or is it something that just never really talked about? Does this whole God of Time thing never really come up formally? Is it always just this kind of subtlety in the story? Let me know your thoughts. It's fun to do this type of a reaction, like sitting here and kind of soaking in some story versus all the silly stuff too. So I hope you guys like it. It's a little bit different for me versus some of the silly reactions or some of the silly videos I post. I like to do a little bit of both, right? We gotta be serious sometimes, and other times we're just gonna have a ton of laughs and fun and make Noelle get into precarious positions because we can. But that's another story. All right, guys, I am going to now record and react to the second part of this, and that will be the next video posted probably, or at least very soon after, within a day or two. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video or live on Twitch.